I was folding Thomas's Sunday shirts when the phone buzzed on the counter beside me. Elena's name lit up the screen. For a moment, I let myself believe she was calling about seating charts or flowers or whether I preferred chicken or salmon. At 67 years old, I have learned not to expect much, but I still hoped for something small and warm. I am Meredith Lane. I am 67. I answered with a smile she could not see. Hi, sweetheart. Her voice came soft, careful, the way a person speaks when they are about to deliver a blow they do not want to take responsibility for. Mom, I need to talk to you about the wedding. My hands stopped in midair. All right. What is it? There was a pause, and I heard her inhale like she was steadying herself. Ryan's parents. They want the ceremony to feel a certain way, very polished, very curated. They think it might be better if you do not come. For a heartbeat. Everything inside me went very still. The house felt heavier, as if the walls had leaned in to listen. She added quickly, "It is not personal. They just have a vision." I held the phone tighter. "And you agree with them?" Another breath. Another silence. "It is just for the sake of the day. They want everything to look seamless." Seamless, she said, the word floating between us. A day without disruptions, including me. I sank slightly against the counter, letting the weight of her words settle. I did not argue. I did not ask why my presence would break anything. I had learned long ago that pushing for clarity only made Elena retreat further. "Mom," she said softly, "I hope you understand." I swallowed the ache rising in my throat. "I understand. That makes this easier," she whispered. Easier for her. Certainly not for me. We ended the call without saying much else. When the line clicked dead, I stood in the kitchen with Thomas's shirts draped over my arm and a hollow space growing inside my chest. I looked at the phone, waiting for it to light up again, waiting for her to say she did not mean it, waiting for anything that might pull me back from that moment. Nothing came. The house settled into its usual quiet, but it no longer felt peaceful. It felt abandoned. I laid the folded shirt on the table, sat down slowly, and let the truth settle beside me. Elena had cut me out cleanly, neatly, as if removing a piece that did not match the picture she wanted to show the world. When Thomas came home that evening and saw my face, he knew something had shifted. He set down his keys without a word, and the weight of the silence between us was the first step toward what came next. I sat at the kitchen table long after the call ended, my fingers tracing the grain in the wood as if it could steady me. The quiet made room for memories I had not invited, but they came anyway. Slow, heavy, unkind. I raised Elena alone for many years. I worked night shifts at the pediatric ward, coming home smelling of antiseptic and reaching for her before I even changed my clothes. When she was small, she used to press her cheek against my scrubs and say, "Mom, you smell like safety." I lived off those words when the bills stacked high and I barely slept. When she reached high school, the shift began. Subtle at first. "Mom, maybe don't wear that sweater to the parent meeting," or "Can you drop me off 2 blocks away?" I told myself it was teenage embarrassment, harmless and temporary. I wanted to believe it. Later, when she got into a private liberal arts college in California, I took extra shifts to cover the parts of tuition her aide did not reach. I never told her that I sometimes skipped meals to afford the gas for the long drives on holidays. Instead, I told her how proud I was. She came home one Thanksgiving with a new tone in her voice, just faint enough to ignore. "Ryan's family is different. Mom, they have certain standards." She said it gently, but gently can bruise just as deeply. Tonight, the bruise felt fresh again. Thomas poured himself a glass of water and sat across from me. "She hurt you," he said quietly. I kept my eyes on the table. "She did not mean to." "Yes," he answered. "She did." I did not argue. I did not defend her. For the first time in a long while. I did not know how. I pressed my palm flat against the wood and let the years settle over me the work. The sacrifices, the pride, the slow distancing I pretended not to see. What remained now was an ache I could no longer ignore. Thomas sat across from me, his elbows on his knees, hands clasped. He did not rush to speak. And that silence pressed harder against my chest than any raised voice could have. "When did she call?" he asked. "Earlier this afternoon." I kept my eyes on the floor. "She said Ryan's parents prefer a certain image." Thomas let out a slow breath. Not shocked, not angry, just tired. "Meredith, we both know that did not start today." I looked up. "You think I should have stopped it sooner, I think," he said carefully. "You have been shrinking yourself for her approval for many years." The words landed between us, sharp but honest. I opened my mouth, then closed it again. There was nothing to defend. He leaned back, rubbing a hand over his face. "I heard her last month on the phone with her friend. She said she hoped you would not wear anything too plain to the rehearsal dinner." He hesitated. "She said it would reflect on her, a sting. Deep and familiar, settled behind my ribs. You did not tell me. You were excited for her," he said softly. "I did not want to take that from you." I folded my hands in my lap. "She is still our daughter." "She is," he agreed. "But that does not mean she is right." The house felt colder than usual. Not from the air, but from what lay unspoken. Thomas had seen this coming, and I had not. He reached over, resting his hand on mine. "We will face whatever comes next, together." His steadiness should have comforted me. Instead, it left me wondering how long he had been waiting for the moment I finally saw what he already understood. The banging on the front door came so hard and sudden that I dropped the mug in my hand. Thomas was already moving toward the entryway when I heard Elena's voice tight, breathless, already on the edge of accusation. "Mom, open the door, now." I pulled it open, and there she stood with Ryan beside her. Behind them were his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Halden, dressed as if they had come straight from a meeting rather than a confrontation. Their faces held the same strained politeness I'd heard in Elena's voice the day before. Elena stepped forward first. "Why would you tell people you are not invited to the wedding?" I blinked. "I did not tell anyone. My aunt called me last night." She shot back. "She said you sounded upset." "I did not speak to her," I said quietly. Mrs. Halden folded her arms. "Someone clearly did. Now our relatives are asking why there is drama so close to the ceremony." Ryan avoided my eyes, jaw tightening. "We just want things smooth." "Meredith," Thomas stepped beside me. "Then maybe do not assume she did something she did not do." Elena's cheeks reddened. "I am not assuming. I am telling you what people are saying. People say many things," Thomas replied. "It does not make them true." Mr. Halden cleared his throat. "Trying to regain control of the moment, we simply need clarity. If Meredith has concerns, she should address them directly, not through extended family." I did not speak to anyone. I repeated, softer this time, because the weight of being doubted by my own child did not leave much room for volume. Elena exhaled sharply. "Well, someone is stirring things up, and it reflects badly on us. On us, not on family, not on her mother." Thomas's hand touched my back, steady but firm. "But this feels less like clarity," he said, "and more like an accusation delivered to the doorstep at 8 in the morning. Elena looked away, and in the small silence that followed, I felt the shape of something shifting, a line being crossed, slowly but undeniably. They had come here insisting they wanted the truth, yet every word they brought felt like an ambush. Mrs. Halden took a delicate step into my living room. her eyes drifting across the shelves, the framed photos, the small knitted blanket on the couch. She smiled, but it was the kind of smile that carried measurements beneath it. "It is cozy," she said. "Very lived in." Mr. Halden nodded as if confirming an appraisal. "Our family gatherings tend to be a bit more formal. The wedding, especially, must feel elevated." Elena tensed beside them. "That is what I was trying to explain. Mom, Ryan's family cares about appearances. It is part of their world." I kept my voice steady. "I understand caring about appearances, but that does not explain excluding me." Mrs. Halden tilted her head. "Sometimes, Meredith, certain aesthetics must be protected. A cohesive look, cohesive guests. You know, presentation." Thomas stepped closer. "She is not decor." Mrs. Halden gave a soft laugh. "Of course not. We simply do not want anything distracting from the event. High-profile guests will be attending. People who expect a certain standard." Elena added quietly, "Mom, I cannot risk anything going wrong." I looked at her. Going wrong. By having me there, she swallowed hard. "It is complicated." Ryan finally spoke, barely above a murmur. "Everyone just wants harmony." Thomas's jaw tightened. "Harmony does not begin with telling a mother she does not fit the theme." Elena's shoulders collapsed inward. "Mom, it is just that Ryan's parents want the day to feel refined." Mrs. Halden clasped her hands. "And some environments are harder to refine than others." The meaning settled heavily between us. And in the silence that followed, I realized Elena had been reshaping herself for them far longer than I understood. Elena stood in the center of my living room, arms locked tight across her chest. The tension in her shoulders had grown with every word exchanged. And when Thomas stepped forward again, something inside her seemed to snap. "Stop," she said sharply. "All of you, just stop." Ryan touched her elbow. "Elena, maybe we should—" "No." She pulled her arm away. "Mom needs to hear this." My breath caught, but I nodded. "Go on." She looked at me with eyes that were already shining. "I am trying to fit into a world that is not mine. Do you understand that Ryan's family lives differently? They think differently. They expect differently." Mrs. Halden stiffened. "We did not say anything unreasonable." "You did not have to," Elena said. "I know what you think." Then she turned back to me. "Mom, I cannot show up with a mother who does not match that world." I felt those words like a door closing. "Match," I whispered. She tried again, voice trembling. "You are simple." "Mom, you never cared about clothes or makeup or the things people notice. And I know that should not matter, but it does. It does to them, and it does to me." Ryan looked away, jaw tightening. "Elena, it is the truth," she insisted, wiping under her eye. "I love you. I do. But every time you walk into a room with them, I feel like I have to explain who you are, why you are not polished." Thomas's voice cut in, low and steady. "She worked night after night to raise you. That is more polished than anything in this house." Elena shook her head. "That is not what they see. They see a retired nurse from a modest neighborhood. They see someone who does not know their etiquette or their circles. They judge me through you." I stepped closer. "So you uninvited me to protect yourself." Her eyes finally met mine without flinching. "Yes, because I am scared. Mom, I am scared they will think I am less because you are you." My chest tightened, not with anger, but with something heavier. Elena's lie had cracked, and the truth beneath it was not malicious, it was desperate. "Mrs. Halden murmured, "Elena, this is unnecessary." "No," she said quietly. It was always going to come out. And in that moment, standing between the child I raised and the family she was trying so hard to impress, I understood the cost she had paid to belong and the cost she expected me to pay with her. Thomas stepped forward before I could find my breath again. His voice was calm, almost too calm, the kind that comes only when someone has passed disappointment and reached certainty. "Elena," he said, "there are things your mother has not heard, things I think she deserves to know." She stiffened. "Dad, please do not make this worse. I am not making it worse," he replied. "I am telling the truth." Ryan shifted uneasily, but Thomas's gaze stayed on our daughter. "3 weeks ago? You were on speakerphone when you thought you were not. I heard you telling your friend you hoped your mother would blend in enough not to embarrass you." Elena's face went white. "And 2 days later," Thomas continued, "I heard Ryan's parents discussing how they could manage your mother if she did attend, as if she were a liability." Mrs. Halden drew herself up. "We never said yes, you did," he said, not loudly, but firmly enough that she stopped. I was standing in the hallway. Every word was clear. Elena pressed her hands to her temples. "Dad, that was private. That," Thomas said, "is the problem." He reached into the small drawer by the entry table and pulled out a stapled folder. He placed it on the coffee table with a quiet finality. "What is that?" Ryan asked. "The payment records for the wedding," Thomas said, "the venue, the catering deposits, the design consultant, the transportation service. All in my name. Every last arrangement tied to my signature." Elena blinked rapidly. "Why would you do that without telling me?" "Because at the time," he said, "I still believed this was a family celebration." Silence widened in the room. Then Thomas looked at me before turning back to them. "I will not finance an event that cuts my wife out. As of today, I am withdrawing every dollar. I contacted the venue this morning. The contract will be voided by the end of the week." Mrs. Halden's composure shattered. "That venue is the cornerstone of the entire ceremony. You cannot just I can," he said evenly. "And I have." Ryan stepped forward. "Mr. Lane, please. We can talk about this. There must be another way." "There is," Thomas said. "Treat my wife with respect. Apologize. And stop behaving as though she is something you need to hide." Elena's voice trembled. "Dad, you are ruining everything." "No," he said softly. "I am stopping you from ruining yourself." The room went still, the balance of power shifting in a way no one could ignore. And for the first time since the wedding planning began, the foundation beneath it all, the money, the venue, the approvals cracked open, leaving only the truth standing in the center of the room. The moment Thomas finished speaking, the room splintered into voices sharp, frantic, overlapping. Mrs. Halden moved first. "You cannot void a contract of this scale on a whim. We have guests flying in from 3 different states." "It is not a whim," Thomas replied. "It is a boundary." Mr. Halden stepped forward. "We invested time, connections, expectations." Thomas cut him off. "But not a single dollar. Every invoice came to us." Ryan looked between his parents and Elena, torn. "Maybe we can negotiate something. Postpone. Adjust the plan." "There is nothing to negotiate," Thomas said. "The decision is made." Elena turned to me, eyes red with panic. "Mom, say something. Tell him this is too far." I held her gaze, my voice steady. "I will not ask him to undo his choice. Not this time." She swallowed hard. "You are punishing me." "I am standing still." I said quietly, "You are the one who stepped away." She pressed her palms together as if trying to contain the fear rising inside her. "Everything is falling apart. You do not understand how important this wedding is." Thomas answered before I could. "A wedding should be important because of who is getting married, not because of who might be watching." Mrs. Halden exhaled sharply. "This is exactly the chaos we were hoping to avoid. Chaos you helped create." Thomas replied. Ryan rubbed his forehead. Elena, we should go. We need to rethink everything. I cannot rethink my entire life in one morning, she whispered. You already did, Thomas said, when you decided appearances mattered more than your mother. Elena's face crumpled, not in anger now, but in something far more uncertain. She looked at me as though seeing me clearly for the first time in years. I did not mean to hurt you, she said softly. I know, I answered, but you did. The room fell silent again, the kind that comes only when there is no image left to protect and no story left to hide behind. Ryan touched her arm gently. Let us go home. Elena nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving mine. Then she turned and followed them out, each step unsteady, as if she no longer knew what world she belonged to. Weeks passed before the house felt normal again. Even then, the quiet wasn't the same quiet I had known before. It was gentler now, no longer filled with the tension of waiting for Elena to call or the dread of what she might say. Thomas checked on me often, never hovering, just present. Sometimes he would sit beside me on the porch and say nothing at all. And somehow, that helped more than any reassurance could. One evening, as I was sorting through old photo albums, my phone buzzed. A text from Elena. Can we talk sometime? Not now, but soon. I stared at the words for a long moment. Thomas looked over from his chair. You do not owe anyone an immediate answer, he said. I know, I replied. And I did. For the first time, I truly did. I waited 2 days before responding. Yes, when you are ready. A week later, she came by alone. No fiancé, no in-laws. She stood in the doorway like a visitor, unsure she was welcome. Mom, she whispered. I am sorry. The words trembled. Not polished or rehearsed. It was the closest she had come to honesty in months. I hurt you, she continued, and I do not know how to fix it. I let her in. We sat at the table where so many arguments had been born, and this time there was no defensiveness. No performance. Just my daughter older than the little girl I raised, but suddenly just as fragile. I do not need you to fix it, I said softly. I just need you to mean what you say. She nodded, eyes shining. I am trying. That is enough for today, I told her. The rest will take time. We talked until the light outside faded. Not about the wedding or the pain, but about small things, work, memories, the garden she used to help me water. When she left, the air felt lighter, not healed, not perfect, but open. And as I closed the door behind her, I felt something settle in me, not forgiveness yet, but the possibility of it. I had learned my worth the hard way. Now I would choose carefully who I allowed close to it. If you found this story powerful, remember to like and subscribe so more stories like this can find you.